So we have three people who are very interesting because they've all started before the pandemic, some many years before the pandemic. They changed their way of working during the pandemic, and now they're working in some another way in the new normal. So we've got Anuradha, we've got Ria, and we've got Reshma. So what I'd like you, each of you, to do is just a bit about your brand and what is it that you focus on.
So I run this place called Charoli. It's from the Royal Kitchens of Malwa. It's food with a lot of history. It's the royal food of the Malwa Plateau, which is the western part of Madhya Pradesh. It's a very interesting cuisine, something that's slowly dying. I'm from that region. I've grown up eating this food, and this is my bit of reviving it and documenting it side by side.
I sort of married into a catering family, and that's where it was my husband is sitting there waving. That was my first introduction to a food business, and I found it very fascinating. My mother-in-law, I like to say that she was the OG home chef because she ran a huge operation but from her own home. So I've learned a lot of things from her. Katie's Kitchen is the brand that I married into as such. Since then, because I'm a Bengali married into a Parsi family, a lot of people used to ask me about Bengali food. So I started paying attention to recipes and learning, and I do very small scale Bengali food. I got fascinated by this thing called a bunt cake, which is basically a shape. It's not a kind of cake, and you get specialized baking pans for those, and I've been collecting them over the years. And recently I was told by my husband that I need to justify their existence because they're taking up a lot of real estate in our small house. So Bandit Queen was born, and so that's the third hat I'm wearing now.
I started in 2012. You can say I'm 12 years old. So I was never encouraged at home to take up hotel management. It's just an opportunity that came by, and I said, "Chalo, theek hai. Let's start home catering. Let's start with that." Initially it was sab karna hai. I can cook anything because I had this menu, those old takeaway menus that you have, those 4 folded ones, and it was a long list, and the customer always would ask, aur kya hai? Always, wo 100 dishes kafi nahi the. And then baking came into picture. People were baking cupcakes, everything. So I said, okay, chalo, let's learn baking as well. I had baking things happening. I tried my hand at bread as well. Tried everything, and I just realized I'm everywhere. I'm all over the place. Later, I started working for a food startup which emphasized Indian regional cuisine, and that's where I understood why am I not concentrating on my own regional cuisine. So I'm a Kolhapuri, and my brand is called Every Aroma. Now Every Aroma, sunke, I'm everywhere. But I do offer Kolhapuri cuisine specifically right now. There are many restaurants in Bombay, in Mumbai, who offer Maharashtrian cuisine, but people still say, acha, we've had that tamra pandra rasa in Kolhapur. Do you make that? We would love that. We don't mind the spice level. We want that. So that's how I found the market for Every Aroma, and that happened during the pandemic, during the lockdown. So that delivery kitchen, delivery concept really worked wonders for me that time. I do a lot of collabs with home chefs because I feel I need to give a lot more to my customers as well. And by collaborating, they can get a lot more variety, and it's a win-win for both the people. So that's how my new brand called Vanna Tinuka, which means come eat, came up, and I said, let's put South Indian cuisine out there. And again, I say it's inspired by my travels, and I hope people really enjoy because it's drama and it's an experience of the way you eat that cuisine.
Things have changed a lot. Like for example, Anuradha, like just before the pandemic, you were doing some pop-ups, and then at the flea market, you did this thing. Then the pandemic happened. You want to take the mic? And then the delivery mode, first from your own house, and then you took up a place. But now it's very different, right? Customers have various choices. They can go out, they can call in from anywhere, and your food is sort of, it's regional Indian, but not ghar ka khana. I mean, it's the ghar ka khana of the Maharajas, and then at the same time it's not really international. So you're at the sort of cusp of two. So what are you doing differently now, or what are you continuing doing which is helping you?
I think one of the things that we made a very conscious decision was to stick to what we do best. This is what I offer. This is the food that I do. It's a bite into history, and this is what I will continue to offer. And so my clients or people, when they look for us, they know what they're going to get. Every food and every regional cuisine, or every cuisine in the world, in fact, is so incomplete without the story of its origin and how it has developed and become what it has become now, or even 100 years ago. It's always because there's a history. It's a regional history. It's the history of conquest. It's the history of marriages. It's the history of communities that have moved, and that, without understanding that, how would you really understand the food?
And you've been doing it consistently. So I'm sure the quality and everything's also, it's been a learning phase and
It's been a very, very large, many years of learning. It's not, and I think that's one thing that every home chef kind of struggles with, because we're not trained, because you're learning and making things from your own experiences. Mistakes are what actually really teach you to not make it again and fix that flaw. And it's okay. Don't beat. I really think, when I started out, I would really panic and I'm like, oh, it's not perfect and, it's not going my way and it's okay. You're human. You're not trained to do this. But make sure the next time you have learned from the mistake that you've made and fix it.
Ria, while you look at Katie's Kitchen as a caterer and all of that, but you sort of use social media effectively to grow your brand and to go to people who are not aware of you or the culture. So a lot of home chefs would be like that, there might be people not comfortable with digital or social. They might get intimidated by what a reel is, or taking a photograph, or standing in front of the camera. So they're great cooks, but they don't know how to market themselves. So Ria, what's your learning been, not just now, but over this period of marketing Katie's Kitchen and Parsi food?
You go with the flow, but you have to, as far as marketing is concerned, like we have moved spaces and avatars depending on the situation. The marketing strategy also has changed. How we market has changed. While everybody is obsessed with Instagram and Reels and all of that you heard earlier, I'm not crossing that out. If you have the bandwidth...
And you don't have an agency and all that in any case.
No. It's all Kurush and me. Whoever has the time does whatever we can. And so we focus on the food, like I was saying. And, so for Bandit Queen, for example, I thought, ke chalo, naya brand hai, internet ka zamana hai, social media is the thing. That's the place to, advertise and market and all of that. So I did a couple of reels. Nothing happened with those reels. Now for some strange reason, now this reel was very impromptu. I'm in a dirty ghar ka nighty. I've not combed my hair. It was that instant I thought, chal ek video karte hain. And that reel, for whatever reason, has got some 40,000 views. So yeah, fantastic. Everybody is, excited. So many. How many orders have I got from it? Not one. So I'm not going to waste my time on reels because it doesn't work for me. It's not showing on my bottom line. So if you can make it work for you, fantastic. But it hasn't worked for me, in spite of the views and the likes and all of that,
So how do you get your orders?
So we use good old WhatsApp. We have a broadcast list, and every single person on that broadcast list is there because they are willing to be there. We are a very, very old company, so we have clients who've been with us. We've done the wedding, then we did a couple of anniversaries, then the girl got pregnant, so we did the 7th month ceremony, then we do the kid's first birthday, then the kid has grown up and is having an 18th birthday party or something, and the next thing you know, that kid has got engaged and we are catering for that engagement and the wedding.
But Ria, how do you get new customers?
We advertise in the newspapers. Another thing to do is participate in events, physical events where you can, meet people, like something like this, or do pop-ups, do collaborations, do stuff like that. So put your name out there, put your food out there, not your food pictures. I mean, your stories and everything definitely works. And yeah, if you're doing events and stuff, try and talk about that online wherever you are present, because it might not get you orders immediately, but it tells people of the kinds of things you're doing. So if you're doing a corporate catering, for example, or you're doing lunch boxes for a office lunch or things like that, whatever you might be doing, try and put it out there.
In a way, Ria, you towards the end spoke of collab, and that's what I want to ask Reshma about, because first time I came across Reshma was through our friend Pallavi. So she said that there are three of us doing, what is it called, regional connect, right? So we are doing a box where I'm doing Malwani, someone's doing Kolhapuri. I was like, okay, I can't handle spice Kolhapuri, and third person was doing Bodi food. So how did this idea come up? And I know it was during the lockdown. So now do you think it's still worth continuing?
The idea of a collab also came up during the pandemic, during the lockdown, when I was offering all different kind of delivery options to the customers. For me, every weekend I had to put up a weekend special, and I ran out of ideas. I'm like, what more can I offer my customers? And I was in touch with Pallavi and Mehrose. I have met them, I have tasted their food, and I just put this idea across because I know they too were offering the same service, deliveries of their cuisine. And I said, why not? The three of us know each other. We will work together, because that's also very, very important, that you get along with your fellow home chef. And the response the first time was really good, and that's how the trend started. We did the 6th edition recently.
What is the advantage of someone getting into a collab?
Hakasan was collaborating with Chef Manu Chandra, that's a collab. If that can happen, why can't we do the same thing with the other home chefs?
And actually, home chefs are doing it with hotels or restaurants.
Right. For us, it's trying every way of getting our food out there. So whatever step you have to take for that, you've got to do it. As I mentioned, even with the person you're collaborating with, you've got to have that relation built up, because at the end of it, you don't want your customer to suffer, you don't want the collab to suffer, you don't want your food to suffer.
What is the spirit of a kitchen which one should take to a shared space so that it doesn't become a cloud kitchen? Because technically it's the same.
Right.
So what distinguishes a home chef run kitchen in a rented place from a cloud kitchen?
Whoever has started their business as a home chef, as long as you're still hands in your business, you're there in the kitchen, you're looking at the produce that's coming in, you're looking at how things are being made, as long as you're physically present, it's still your home chef kitchen. It might geographically be somewhere else, but I mean, it's not your house that's cooking, it's your cooking.
I feel the fact that I'm a home chef and I'm not a trained chef only in some ways made it harder maybe, but in a lot of ways made it easier, because I had to work from common sense. You just work with the produce that you have, you work out a system, you know which day is going to work better, and we're on Swiggy and Zomato. But I think you just apply common sense and say, hey, this is how I used to, or mom used to store this, and this would last for this long, and you just apply that to your kitchen. And because you don't have formal training, you actually really go back and say ki ye aise hota tha, to ye it can happen like this even now, like there's no reason why it can't, and it works. And systems are then put in place which I think makes sense.
For consistency also,
For consistency also, for storage also, for consumption also, for taking stocks also.
I think it's fabulous, and I think one or two things, many things I took out from you guys is that one is don't get distracted by what's happening around you. You are here to do something. If you believe in it, do it. Do it consistently.